For the first time in 111 years of Federal Reserve history, the Department of Justice has launched a criminal investigation into a sitting Fed chairman. Jerome Powell, the man who controls interest rates for the entire U.S. economy, is now facing potential prosecution. The stock market is panicking. Former Fed chairs are issuing emergency statements, and constitutional experts are using words like authoritarian takeover. This isn't just political theater. Your mortgage rate, your savings account, your job security, all of it hangs in the balance right now. Stay until the end because the truth about who's really pulling the strings will blow your mind. How did we get here? Let's rewind. Jerome Powell was appointed Fed chairman by President Trump back in 2018. At first, they were friendly. But then Powell started raising interest rates to fight inflation, and Trump hated it. He wanted cheap money to keep the economy booming. Fast forward to 2025, Trump is back in the White House. Powell is still Fed chair until May 2026, and Trump wants interest rates cut now. Here's the timeline. 2022-2023. Fed approves a $2.5 billion headquarters renovation, December 2024. Powell testifies to Congress about the project costs. January 12, 2025. DOJ suddenly launches criminal investigation into Powell's testimony, claiming he may have misled Congress. January 12, 2025 evening. Powell releases unprecedented video statement calling it political intimidation. January 13, 2025. Markets react with panic, Treasury yields spike. The key players. Jerome Powell, Fed chair, trying to protect central bank independence. President Trump denies involvement but has repeatedly attacked Powell publicly. DOJ officials, acting on orders from somewhere in the administration. Congress, bipartisan revolt forming against the investigation. Point 1. What Powell is actually accused of. The DOJ claims Powell misled Congress about cost overruns on the Fed's new headquarters building. They're saying his testimony wasn't accurate about who approved the $2.5 billion project. Here's Powell's actual quote from his Sunday video. This investigation appears designed to undermine the Federal Reserve's independence and create pressure for interest rate decisions that serve political rather than economic objectives. Translation. They're trying to bully me into cutting rates. Point 2. This has never happened before. In 111 years of Federal Reserve history, no Fed chair has ever faced criminal investigation. Not during the Great Depression, not during the 2008 financial crisis. Never. Why? Because Fed independence is sacred. When politicians control interest rates, you get Venezuela, Argentina, Turkey, countries where money becomes worthless because leaders print cash to win elections. But here's what's crazy. Even Trump's own Republican allies are turning on him over this. Point 3. The Republican Revolt. Senator Thom Tillis from North Carolina, a Trump supporter, just announced he'll block all of Trump's Federal Reserve nominees until this investigation ends. Representative French Hill, Republican chair of a key financial committee, called the investigation completely inappropriate. These aren't Democrats, these are Trump's own party members saying this crosses a line. Point 4. What former Fed chairs are saying. Ben Bernanke, Janet Yellen, and Alan Greenspan, 3 former Fed chairs who served under both parties, issued a joint statement within hours. They called it an attack on institutional independence that threatens the economic stability of the United States. 10 foreign central bank governors also released statements expressing alarm. The European Central Bank president said it sets a dangerous precedent for democratic governance. Point 5. The market reaction. Treasury yields jumped Monday morning. The dollar weakened. Investors are pulling money out of U.S. bonds because they're scared. Wait, it gets worse. Goldman Sachs just released an analysis saying if Powell is forced out or pressured into premature rate cuts, inflation could surge back to 6.7% by 2026. This affects you directly. Here's how. Your mortgage. If the Fed loses independence and cuts rates for political reasons, inflation comes roaring back. That means your mortgage rate might drop temporarily, but then shoot up even higher when inflation explodes. You think 7% was bad? Try 10%. Your savings. Inflation destroys savings. If Powell is forced to cut rates while inflation is still a threat, the $10,000 in your savings account loses purchasing power every single day. Your job? When central banks lose independence, economic chaos follows. Businesses can't plan. Layoffs increase. Recessions get worse. Real people already affected. Small business owner Maria Gonzalez from Texas told reporters yesterday, "I need stable interest rates to plan my expansion. This political chaos means I'm freezing all hiring until this resolves." Retiree James Chen from California. "My fixed income depends on bond yields. This uncertainty is destroying my retirement security." But here's what's crazy. Constitutional scholars are now debating whether this could trigger a Supreme Court case about separation of powers. What happens next? Scenario 1. DOJ backs down under pressure, Powell stays independent, markets stabilize. Scenario 2. Investigation continues. Powell potentially resigns or is indicted. Fed independence collapses. Economic crisis follows. Scenario 3. Congress passes emergency legislation to protect the Fed. Constitutional showdown ensues. Most analysts give Scenario 1 a 40% chance, Scenario 2 a 30% chance, and Scenario 3 a 30% chance. Former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers predicted, "If Powell is removed or compromised, we're looking at a potential constitutional crisis that makes Watergate look simple." Let me recap in 30 seconds. The DOJ is criminally investigating Fed Chair Jerome Powell over building renovation testimony. Powell says it's political intimidation to force rate cuts. This has never happened in 111 years. Even Republicans are revolting. Former Fed chairs are issuing emergency warnings, and your money, your job, and your future are caught in the crossfire. Here's my take. This isn't about a building. This is about whether America remains a country where economic policy is based on data, or whether it becomes a banana republic where presidents control money for political gain. Now I want to know. Comment below which side you're on. Team Powell, protect Fed independence. Team Trump, Fed needs accountability. Team Chaos, just here for the drama. And watch this next video where I break down